Peace everybody, it's AKILAH again. This video is really just about being a millennial in the Nation of Islam. I am born and raised in the Nation of Islam. That's not necessarily the common thing. Most people who are in the Nation of Islam, actually they convert, or I say revert, because you are already a member of the Nation of Islam if you are an original man or woman. How about that? A lot of them come from the church, Catholic or Baptist or whatever it is. Some of them, like Brother Dr. Wesley Muhammad, he was an atheist. You know, just different people come from different walks of life and backgrounds, and they join the Nation of Islam. At the end of the day, it's a different mentality, a different diet, a different culture, really. It's different as in alien to this culture, the Western society. Of course, being born and raised in America, and you know, descendants of the slaves who were, you know, brought to America, at the end of the day, people are looking at me like, you don't act like the average black girl. Ooh, why do they say that? It's because we've been taught and conditioned to be a certain way. We've been taught and conditioned to look a certain way, and to talk about ourselves a certain way, and to talk to each other a certain way, and to sing a certain way, and to dance a certain way, and to be the so-called Negro. But in the Nation of Islam, growing up, you are what God says you are, not what this white man says you are in this society. So if you grow up with that mentality and then walk into elementary school, which is my story, I started going to elementary school at 6 years old. I started going to Thompson Elementary, Houston, Texas, public school. And before that, I went to your university, which was a Muslim private school. It's similar to MUI, Muhammad University, but in your university, shout out to Ezekiel Elliott, who actually went to the same school. You don't want to talk about that, but you was there. I don't remember him because we were babies, but yeah, I started there at 2 years old. Of course, I could read and all that at 2. A lot of the brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam, we start our children reading and writing and all that stuff very early. Like, I know some people who babies was reading at 1. It's like, what? You can barely talk. If your diet is good and you giving birth to these babies and you reading to them and talking to them in the womb, and they come out, they gonna start talking and walking earlier than your average child. Anywho, back to the subject at hand. I go into the school and I'm just like, okay, this is how everybody is. I'm so like Nation of Islam, I'm coming in there like, you all need to stop eating pork, you need to do this, you need to do that, and all. But it was all in love. It was nothing like, you need to do this. It was just like, oh my God, why are you doing that to yourself? Why are you eating pork? You know, it was more so shock, like, what? Oh my, don't you know? I mean, I'm 6 years old, so everything's like, what? I remember coming back home. Actually, we were at Sister Sharifa's house. Shout out Sister Sharifa. But my first day of school, my first day of public school, my mom was like, how was it? And I told her it was fun. I liked my teacher, Mr. Isaac. So I said, I understood everything except they stood up in the beginning and they had their hand over their chest and they were saying some pledge, and I don't even know if I said pledge. I was just saying they said something to a flag, and my mom was like, oh, she forgot to tell me about that part. And so then she's like, don't say it. So you can stand up when they're all saying the pledge. You stand up. It's called the Pledge of Allegiance. But we don't pledge because basically this country is not giving us freedom, justice, and equality. So we don't say the pledge. In the Nation of Islam, we've always just stood at attention when it came to the national anthem, when it came to pledging allegiance, all of that. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that in the 30s. But so I would go back to school and I would just stand there, people looking like, why aren't you pledging allegiance? I can't, sorry. But you know, it's stuff like that. You know, I would always try to invite people to the mosque in the high school and elementary school, everything. And the main thing would be, oh, I'm a Christian. So I stayed with one of my closest friends, Jamie. Hey girl. Her dad is a preacher. He has a church. I stayed a whole summer with them one time. I had to go to church every Sunday and Bible study. So did you think that made my faith any weaker? No, it made it stronger, because I said, oh, everything he's saying, I knew exactly how to filter it and turn it into basically what it is that I believe. I could take the word Jesus, I could translate that to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I could take your words, you know, Mary, and translate that, boom, to the black woman of America. All these different things, symbolism, everything, you know. And then growing up, you know, having to go to different barbecues and going to family reunions and all this type of stuff, and you can't eat what they eating. You can, you know, eat pork, and they looking like, oh, you can't eat this. What about this? You know, they want to cater to you because your family or your friends. You grow up having to always filter. That's really what's called being in the world but not of it. And we in the Nation of Islam really actually live that life. We don't partake in a lot of things that this world does, to the point where I'm in my 20s and I'm really just now understanding the psychological effects of white supremacy. I mean, on the entire world. I've always been up to it. I've always known about it. But now that I work at a Mexican restaurant, it's sad. I always grew up around powerful people, the Black Panthers, Nation of Islam, you know, Latinos who were more like Cesar Chavez or like, you know, Fidel Castro. You're always going to have your revolutionary Latinos too, like Brother Abel, and then you'll have, you know, the brown berets next to the Black Panthers. I'm used to Latinos like that who are fearless. I have cousins in California who are Latino. My uncle had children with a Mexican woman. Hey, I'm Beverly. I'm used to like fearless Mexicans, like, you know, hood Mexicans, you know. But here, I'm really starting to see that our people, our brothers and sisters who are in the, you know, Latino community, indigenous community, are just as whitewashed as us. I mean, blew my mind. One thing I would say about growing up in the Nation of Islam is you become aware of why things are the way they are very early. Heaven is not a place you go to after you die. It's some place that you build while you're here on earth. In the Nation of Islam, we're taught the value of the woman, the beauty of the black woman, the spirit of the black woman, the fact that she's the mother of civilization, the fact that the first woman was a black woman. No other color can come except through the black woman. Dominant traits, you know, and then there's recessive traits, okay? You got to start with black, and then all the colors come from that, okay? We were not all made at the same time. And to see that this world that's foreign to this world, like seeing a Michelle Obama was normal to me. I now understand why it was such a big deal for a lot of black women to see somebody like Michelle Obama, because they were not seeing the black woman portrayed as a intellectual or a woman of character with her man who was smart and who took care of her children and you know, was dignified like that on a big scale. Of course, also being first lady, which means she had to represent the black woman all over America, all over the world, globally. And you say she wasn't representing the black woman, she was representing America. No, she was representing the black woman. Okay, she from Mississippi, ain't she? She did it in a dignified manner. I'm used to seeing that growing up in the Nation of Islam. I'm happy that a lot of us sisters and, you know, who don't see that all the time, saw it. Growing up in the Nation of Islam, but also being in public school and doing performances and being in the arts and culture and going to a high school for the performing and visual arts, and then going to Howard University and all of these different things that are very much so society. It just shows me really the power of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, because I have been able to navigate through every single school and keep my identity, you know. Now you got the Kardashians, now you got all these different pop cultures. You got the Rihannas, you got the Beyoncés and all this type of stuff. And in the Nation of Islam, as a sister, we are wearing headpieces. We are like fully covered, looking fly, if you ask me. I'm very proud of our Muslim garb. But when you are in a world that is praising the over-sexualization of women, especially black women, Latino women, you are going to be like, what? It just makes you angry. It doesn't make you, for me, it doesn't make me anything but angry. That's That's all I can say. Right now is the strongest I've ever seen the overt disrespect of black women. You're like, what? Right now? It's been going on. Of course, media plays a big part. Music plays a big part. And maybe it's because I'm now in a position in my 20s to look at things as a, almost like a, not a parent, but like I'm no longer the person being influenced, I'm the influencer. So I'm starting to look at all the other influencers and I'm like, oh my God. Growing up in the Nation of Islam, I've always had a sisterhood, always someone who I could talk to, always someone who I could relate to. And then God gave me sisters who I could really relate to, because I'm very different. But Allah sends you those who you can relate to and who you can connect with. Because I was wearing my scarf in high school, like not my headpiece, but I was wearing a scarf to class. And then I found out one of my sisters, Sister Malia, she used to wear her scarf to class too in high school. And I was like, wait, for real? We met on MySpace. Allah really gives you a sisterhood and a brotherhood. I'm going to show some footage of sisterhood and brotherhood too in future videos so that you can really see what I'm talking about. But that's basically some of the, like, the broad scope of growing up as a millennial in the Nation of Islam. And this video is not propaganda as far as like join the Nation of Islam. I'm just telling you what it is to be like in the Nation of Islam. And this is just, like I said, a small snippet of the glory. Shout out to Sister Halima and the other sisters who also step out there. Oh, Sister Nilam. Shout out to her and a lot of the sisters in the Nation of Islam who are starting to step up and be seen. We got to be seen. We got to be heard, because I mean, we out here. Don't be surprised. All right. Okay, so assalamualaikum. I'll be doing more videos, inshallah, God willing. So stay tuned. All right. Talk to you another time. Assalamualaikum.